This is Abe Friedtanzer from Awards Buzz. Very excited to be speaking to Alex Coco about Anora. How are you, Alex?
Great, great. Great to be speaking to you, Abe.
Of course. Can you tell me about the timeline of your role as a producer on this film?
Um, it starts with the very beginning. Sean is very collaborative in coming up with ideas with his producers and picking the next project. So as soon as we finished Red Rocket, we're kind of just coming off, the emotions of making that film and kind of putting it to rest. And yeah, just Sean just started coming up with new ideas and exploring some stories that we wanted to tell. So yeah, it started with just a few ideas, but the title was very early on. That was something that kind of really got us going. Yeah.
It is an interesting title because I feel like it's not actually said a lot during the film. She goes by a nickname. Can you talk more about why that title was so important?
Yeah, I mean, it's I feel like a lot of people and Sean in particular like to start with titles that really kind of set the tone for the project. And yeah, I mean, it plays with a lot of the themes, with the fact that she that's her real name, but she doesn't go by that name,
Right.
she goes by Annie. She's, an Americanized person. So yeah, it just plays a lot of the themes of the film of this character and who she is and um, how she sees herself and how others see her.
So what happened after that title and the conception of the project was casting something that was early on or more about the script and the story?
Yeah, it was starting to nail down the script and the story. I mean, we had this idea for this home invasion, as we call it, for when the guys come to the house to break up the marriage and that was something that we really worked on from the very beginning. That was like a very crucial set piece of the film and an early, genesis as to the reason we were making the film and sort of like what we were building the rest of the film around. So that was something we really started working on from the beginning. But then it was, yeah, keeping an eye out for casting. Sean, casts his own films, largely with his wife, Samantha, and who's also a producer on the film. And, Sean's just always keeping an eye out, for people, for talent. Again, it could be somebody in a film, like when he saw, Mikey in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and then he saw her again in Scream, and he knew that it was that she was the one for the role. But Sean's he's doesn't just have his eye open when he's seeing films. He also has his eye open when he's walking around just on the street or in public. He might see somebody, just at an event and be like, "Oh, that person has an interesting energy and personality. I wonder if they can act, and if there's a role that we're looking for that that person could work for, then." We approach them and see if they're interested. It's a lot of the casting has been done that way on Sean's films.
I feel like Mikey, I knew her from from Better Things, which is obviously a much more subdued role. But now I think she's at a point of fame where she's pretty widely known. But before this, not necessarily as much, and certainly the rest of the cast, especially in America, not as much. Is that a challenge to be working with an ensemble that really isn't so prominently known and necessarily marketable?
Sean, he wants to cast who he wants to cast in the film, and he's very, it's it's uh it's not really something that we can, we're not going to cast up a project just to meet a certain number, which makes making these films challenging, sometimes, because obviously, we find what the value of the film is and what we can make it for, and the cast is there from the very beginning, and then we make it for that, for the number that that we can get. It's not like we're trying to get more money by putting somebody into the role that Sean may not feel is perfect for it. It's really about finding just the perfect person for the role and just going about it that way, which yeah makes budgets and things like that challenging. But Sean's so uncompromising in just his vision, and it's everything. He's like we're talking about now. He's casting his own films, but as we know, he's nominated, for the awards for editing and for directing and for writing, and he's one of the producers. It's like, his vision as a director, extends into all of these other roles on the film. He's directing the film when he's editing it. He's directing the film when he's casting it. He's directing the film when he's writing it. And then when we're on set, he's also editing the film and directing it and writing it all. It's just a constant just reworking the story until until it's there, he's rewriting on set as well. It's just part of the process. It's part of the discovery, which is always very exciting. It's just an exciting journey to go on.
I first got into Sean's work with the Florida Project, which I think is a fantastic argument for casting unknowns because of the incredible performances you see there. And then Red Rocket, I feel like, is similar in some ways in structure to Anora in terms of, it starts off with this very charismatic character and you're following their sort of wild and crazy journey. And then midway through, there's this big shift that just changes the trajectory of the rest of the film. Do you see those two as sort of related, Red Rocket and this one, in that way?
Um, yeah, I think I do. I mean, Sean's always, he's always maturing, as a director and as a writer, and I feel like all the stories sort of build off of each other. And but yeah, I mean, from the very beginning, he really wanted to play with this like tonal shift, in the film where it feels like a true Hollywood, Cinderella story. And then it shifts into when like everything gets real. I thought that was such an interesting way to approach it. This one very, very, very making that turn, you know, uh, very strong because the everything changes. And it's not just how where we're going in the story, but it's also in the pacing of the editing and how we really slow down, in the writing and go into real time after we've seen so much montage. I don't know. It's just such a feat of using all those parts of filmmaking, and I just think he's gotten better and better with every film. I mean, this is his eighth movie, so um, he's been doing it for a long time.
And obviously, sex work is something that he's explored in the past in his films. I think I know the answer based on what you've said so far about, just his creative vision, but was there any concern just about the topic and wanting to make sure that you were appealing to audiences and more importantly, those who might help to finance the film, et cetera, in the right way?
Yeah, I know, of course. I mean, but we approach it, wanting to tell those people's stories as accurately as possible, and we include people, so we included sex workers, in the film and in consulting on the movie and participating in the movie as actors or as background. So our financiers in the, and we hope audiences, they're willing and open to see a story that's like told correctly about the people that we're trying to tell the story about, um, and that's for Sean. He's it's this sort of like ethical approach to filmmaking, and he always wants to he wants to approach making a story about people in the way that if somebody came up to him and said I'd love to make a movie about your life, and how that would feel, and just kind of really using that as sort of like a reminder, of like you would want them to tell a story that's accurate and that's true, and we put a lot of time into just gathering stories and talking to people, and and then bringing those to the script.
Anything surprise you in that research process?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah, it's all of us. I mean, Sean, Samantha, and I really like work together and just yeah, just like trying to build, just being there from the beginning. Us as producers were supporting Sean, all the way through. Um, so yeah, so and it's top to bottom. It's we can break up rules and stuff, and we like to wear a lot of hats on these films, as the producers, and we're used to that. And it's similarly as Sean is wearing a lot of hats. I'm also wearing a lot of hats on the film. I mean, I was in this scene where they were when she was walking around the floor in the very beginning, was sort of shot docu style. In the very beginning of the movie, I actually was DJing like pre-cleared music, so that we could really get the real energy and vibe of the club. And yeah, so just like whatever needs to be done, that's just kind of how we approach it.
What was the experience like being on the film festival circuit with this film?
I mean, it's been incredible. We were, our goal was to get into Cannes, just to get into Cannes. That was our goal. So, to get in and then win the Palm, like, that was just totally unexpected. We were nervous about just being a part of the slate, let alone we weren't thinking about winning. Um, so uh, so yeah, and then obviously from there, all the other festivals have just been, people have just been receiving the film so much. It's just exciting to see, you know, um, lines around the block to see your film at these festivals and full houses and to hear people laughing and really engaging with the movie. And um, you know, yeah, it's been a dream.
And how are you feeling right now as, we're getting into the period of Oscar voting and there's a lot of other films in contention?
Yeah, it's something, it's out of our hands in a way. I mean, obviously we're like, we look forward to and we're excited to talk to people about the movie if they want to know about how we made it and how we approached it and all that. Like, that's been a fun process, to get to meet people who are fans of the movie and want to know more. So I don't know, we're just kind of just letting the process unfold and keeping our head down um, and then looking towards the next movie once everything's over. But it's been an exciting time. I mean, to be nominated like we are, where we've come from and the whole journey, um yeah, it's our own Cinderella story, for sure.
And I'm sure attending a lot of award shows, you get to meet the teams from other films that are nominated. Are there other movies this year that you're particularly excited about and nice to be sort of sharing a lot of energy with?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's been great. Uh, I've seen Ethan and Brandon from Nickel Boys a lot, the two actors of that film. We hang out at like every single event. We always run into each other, and so yeah, it's fun to like kind of make friends a little bit on going to all these events and seeing sometimes the same people and just getting to know people, and then being able to yeah talk to them about how they made their movies and swap stories and then maybe think about collaborating on future projects together too.
Is there anything you can preview about what's next for you?
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple of films trying to get off the ground for this year, and then just things that are in the works. Things are, they're all things are, it's independent filmmaking for the most part. That's what we are. We're independent filmmakers. Um, it doesn't happen until it's happening. But they're really exciting projects on the slate. And then also, thinking about Sean's film as well. We're hoping that we can kind of get back into it and make another movie, very soon after after we're, after March, basically, So.
Well, I wish you plenty of luck with that. It's great to talk to you today. Thanks so much, Alex.
Thanks, Abe. Appreciate it.